Hey guys, it's Sarah here from TFL Car, and this is a 2018 Mazda CX-9 Signature. Now, today's comparison is going to be one that is a little different. I'm going to be comparing the Mazda6 Signature versus the CX-9 Signature. If you guys saw the last video I did last week, it was on the Mazda6 Signature, which has the Mazda Skyactiv G 2.5T. Such a tongue twister saying that. Anyway, this is the only engine that is offered in the Mazda CX-9. So this video is going to be kind of a comparison of what that engine is best suited to, the CX-9 or the Mazda 6 Signature. One of the things I praised the most about the Mazda 6 Signature was its interior, and I stand by that. I feel the interior on that car was absolutely gorgeous, especially for the price of that car only being $36,000. Now this Mazda CX-9 Signature comes in at just over $48,000. I had to compare the interiors on the Mazda 6 versus the Mazda CX-9 on which I feel looks better. It's definitely going to be the Mazda 6, which is a huge surprise considering how much cheaper it is than the CX-9. I'm absolutely obsessed with this color combo of the auburn interior with the snowflake white pearl exterior. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased to pearl white paint on vehicles. If you've seen my channel, you'd understand why. Now, they both have similar features. The CX-9, however, does not have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which was a big deal for the Mazda 6 because it's the first time that Mazda has introduced that into any of their vehicles. The overall dash layout and HVAC controls in the CX-9 aren't as appealing as they were in the Mazda 6. They don't have the bright, vibrant LED lights near the climate control knobs that I loved in the Mazda 6. The CX-9 is a little bit more bland and subdued. It does share similar controls for your infotainment system with the little joystick that I kind of like, and the fact that your volume knob is right next to it. It's kind of nice how everything is, it's got a feng shui, I guess you could say, in the way that everything is laid out on the interior of this car. And I appreciate that. It also does share the same brushed aluminum style on the dash and on the door panels, which is a nice touch. It does have a little bit of that gloss black piano trim, which is a nightmare if you have OCD and you're trying to keep it always clean. But when it's clean, it's worth it because it's really pretty. The steering wheel is also very similar with the button layout, and the same with the gauges, although this does have an analog style speedometer and tachometer, where the Mazda 6 had a digital center section of the gauge cluster. The only section that is really digital is where it says park or drive in the tiny left corner, or on the third gauge to your far right where it has the temperature and your fuel gauge. Now this only has one fuel gauge, where the Mazda 6 had two fuel gauges. So that's great value for money in the Mazda 6. You're getting two fuel gauges for the price of one. It does have a luxurious sporty feel with the black headliner, which I was a huge fan of black headliner in the Mazda 6. I don't know why, I really like black headliners in vehicles, maybe because they don't get dirty as easy, or it just gives it more of a luxurious feel inside the car. In case you were wondering, I got leg room for days back here. Tons of room, tons of headroom in the second row. And one thing I really like is this command style seating where I can see clearly over the driver's head, even if the driver was me. Right now, the second row is just where it locks if you don't push it all the way back, and I have a ton of leg room back here. So I think if you kind of balance this seat position between the second and third rows, especially if you have kids back here, you're gonna have tons of room for the second and third row as far as legs go. Unless, of course, you have giant kids. As far as tech goes, it does have the heads-up display, which I'm a huge fan of, and it has blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic, which are both great features to have, especially if you park in parking lots next to vehicles much larger than you, or if you're weird like me, I usually park way out in the middle of nowhere so no one will door ding me. As far as the exterior goes, one thing I absolutely love about the CX-9 is it's one of those cars that almost has a face to it. You know, like sometimes you'll see an owner and their car next to each other and be like, y'all look a little bit alike. Like, it's so weird that sometimes people look a little bit like their cars in the front fascia. And I feel this vehicle is one of those vehicles that it could definitely apply to if you look like a turtle, because the grill kind of hangs forward and it's got this little like turtle beak to it. But it looks incredible. I love the styling of the CX-9. I think the front end is just so unique. And the Kodo design you see on all the Mazda vehicles is something I'm absolutely obsessed with. I think is so beautiful, and especially the taillights on the CX-9. It's such a large vehicle, and you would think putting a tiny taillight on here would just make it look odd, but it doesn't. It flows, and it has kind of a similar theme to the current generation Miata with the circle taillights. I feel like if you're a Mazda family and you have a CX-9, a Miata, and a Mazda6 all in your garage, they'll all kind of like flow and balance, and the garage will look pretty and organized. Although I definitely recommend having an FD-RX-7 in there. Just saying, if you're gonna be a Mazda family, you gotta have a FD. Now, with the taillights being well proportioned, I did find it really weird that the fog lights on this thing are so tiny. They're absolutely microscopic in comparison to the rest of the front of the vehicle. I didn't even notice them until the third day I had this thing. I was like, oh wow, it has fog lights. Now, the real question though is which vehicle wears this power plant better, the Mazda 6 or the CX-9? So comparing a 3,500 pound front wheel drive family sedan to a 4,200 pound 7-passenger all-wheel drive crossover obviously is not going to be a fair comparison power to weight ratio, despite them having the same engine. This does, however, have Mazda's iDiv all-wheel drive system, which is an intelligent all-wheel drive system. Basically, it is front-wheel drive biased, which I'm not a fan of, but for fuel economy reasons, it does a decent job at only supplying power to the rear wheels when needed. And the thing that Mazda does well with this is it's not reactive, where it's like, oh, hey, I'm slipping, let me send power back there. No, it's proactive. Mazda's system intelligently tries to predict when it thinks a wheel is going to slip to ensure power is there so you don't have an issue. And I drove it last night in some pretty heavy torrential downpours, and I have to say this thing does a great job at making sure it doesn't slip in wet weather. I was able to floor it on wet pavement and it does not spin whatsoever. But I have to say, driving this thing around in day-to-day driving on dry pavement, I can definitely tell it's front-wheel drive biased. Especially when you floor it, you can kind of feel it dart and zip around a little bit like you would have in a front-wheel drive vehicle. Give it the beans. It short shifts just like the Mazda 6. Man, it pulls pretty good for a crossover. And it's handling this corner, I mean, it's got some body roll, but not bad for a 7-passenger crossover. Not bad. The average buyer of this Mazda CX-9 is obviously going to be using this thing to haul around a family. I mean, why else would you buy a 7-passenger crossover than to haul around some kiddos in? And I think Mazda did an excellent job at making this thing fool you into feeling like it's something other than it is. I mean, at times driving this thing, when you give it partial throttle and roll into it and it gives you a nice shove down low, it almost feels like you're driving a hot hatch. But when you come into a corner and you're like, oh man, I'm driving a hot hatch, well, reality definitely wakes you up and you start to feel the body roll and you're like, yep, I'm in a 7-passenger crossover. So I think this is a weird kind of hybrid between being a fun maneuverable vehicle and being a 7-passenger mommy missile. Fuel economy wise, I've been averaging 22.5 miles per gallon in this Mazda CX-9, whereas in the Mazda 6, I averaged about 26 miles per gallon over the entire week I had it. So 4 miles per gallon difference. This thing is all-wheel drive and it weighs about 700 pounds more. I think 4 miles per gallon is not that big of a difference for how big this thing is and how much more it can haul, and that's a win on the CX-9. After driving 2 vehicles back to back now powered by Mazda's Skyactiv G 2.5T, I have to say I love this engine, and I didn't think it was possible, but I think I like it better than Mazda's 2.3 MZR that was found in the old Mazda Speed 3, Mazda Speed 6, and Mazda CX-7. I don't know, this is a great engine and I wish we had it in more vehicles. I could only imagine what it would be like if you crammed this in a ND Miata. Yeah, 250 horse and 310 pound-feet of torque in a Miata? Yes, please. So to answer the question, who wore it best, the Mazda CX-9 signature or the Mazda6 signature? Well, you cannot compare these two vehicles purely on the vehicle themselves. But as far as this power plant goes, which vehicle it suits better, I feel it suits the Mazda 6 better. But as far as 7-passenger crossovers go, I have to say this one is really enjoyable. It's extremely good looking. It feels well made. And it's kind of fun. It does have a little bit of zoom in it when you're driving it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I will see you soon with another. Bye.